Greetings, mighty companions. Anna Kajawa here, and we are doing A Course in Miracles, the Complete and Annotated Edition, as we always do on Wednesdays. So the Complete and Annotated Edition is the latest edition of A Course in Miracles, and it has 45,000 words that came from the scribe Helen Schuckman. That were left out of the first two editions of A Course in Miracles. And so that's why I am teaching this particular edition, along with the other editions on my other live streams. So where we are at today is Chapter 3, Section 10, Judgment and the Authority Problem, and we're picking up where we left off. This is Part 3. Of Judgment and the Authority Problem, Part 3. And we are starting on paragraph number 10. So we were talking about judgment in the last few sessions, and the cost of judgment and the price of judgment. And so we're going to finish up with this section today about what judgment is and what are the alternatives to judgment? Are there alternatives to judgment? Yes, there is. And so we're going to talk about that today. Welcome you guys watching on Facebook. I can see your comments, and if you have questions, then write them in all caps, and then that will catch my eye, hopefully. And I so appreciate your feedback, your comments. I appreciate you co-creating this healing circle. Whenever we get together and we listen to the ideas of A Course in Miracles, we are co-creating a healing circle that is not only bringing healing to yourself, but to all the world. This is how the world is healed, by us and others joining our minds to hear these loving, healing ideas. This is how the world is healed. And so thank you for your willingness to participate in this healing circle on behalf of yourself and all the world as one with you. I appreciate you all so much. So here we go. So remember, we are Chapter 3, Section 10, Judgment and the Authority Problem. And we're going to start on paragraph 10. So here we go. It says this: only those who give over all desire to reject can know, meaning be certain, that their own rejection is impossible. I love that sentence. So I'm just going to stop here for a moment, because that's something I want to experience. I want to experience a state of mind where I know my own rejection is impossible. How about you? Would you like to have total certainty that your rejection is impossible, that you cannot be rejected, not by God, not by your friends, not by others, not in any way, shape, or form? Would you like to know that your own rejection is impossible? How would you like to have the experience where you wake up each day and you're not concerned about rejection, not concerned about rejection from your boss or your child or your friends or from God or from anyone? How might that feel? Well, I would like to experience that. And so when the Course tells me in this section that I can have certainty that I cannot be rejected if I am willing to give over all of my own desire to reject, then that catches my attention, because so now I know what to do. I know I need to be on the lookout for my own desire to reject others. Okay, and how will I know when I am tempted to reject others? Well, we just heard in the last several paragraphs of this section that you can tell when you're having a temptation to reject others when you are judging. That's what judgment is. Judgment is, I'm having a temptation to reject others. And so I want to be able to be aware of that, so that when I'm having that temptation to reject others by judging them, then I maybe can catch myself and go, if I give into my temptation to reject others in the form of judging them or critiquing them or criticizing them, then I am now going to continue to be paranoid about how others might reject me. So maybe I might have a chance to have that awakeness, that awareness, and also be able to have an experience where I set it up where now I'm not afraid, now I'm not concerned about being rejected. So I join with you guys in the desire and the intention to have certainty that your own rejection is impossible. How would you like to have that? How about we join on that intention and that desire in this holy instant? Okay, that's how it occurs. Creation occurs when we join on our decision for something. So whenever we go, hey, we join on the intention to know that our own rejection is impossible, that's how it's created. Creation occurs from joining minds. So wonderful. Okay, so don't forget, if you have a question, write it in all caps, and hopefully that will catch my eye. And also, you guys, if you are watching and you see any questions that I missed, feel free to say, hey, question. So so that we can make sure to get your questions. Okay, Les says, I cannot be rejected by anybody or anything, boss, God, child, ideas, solutions, etc. Exactly. But I will only have certainty that I cannot be rejected when I give over all of my desire to reject. So let's make this practical. Let's make this practical. Where in your experience right now are you worried about being rejected? Okay. Are you worried about your boss rejecting you? Are you worried about your kids rejecting you? Are you worried about friends rejecting you? Are you worried about your partner or your mate rejecting you? Where is it that you feel wounded, in that you feel like you've been rejected? Wherever it is that you feel like you've been rejected or are worrying you might be rejected, that is the place. And now is the time to say to yourself, oh, I am worried about being rejected because I have been rejecting others. I have been rejecting others through my judgment, me thinking that I know about the truth about them and their motivations and what they're about and what they're trying to do, et cetera, et cetera. And so, since I want to be released and relieved of my fear of rejection, then I'm going to now give over. I'm going to give over all of my desire to reject, to judge them, to judge them, to judge them, and to judge them. And so I'm going to give over my desire to reject and to judge in this moment so that I can be released from my fear of being rejected from you know who, fill in the blank. Okay? So, all right. I can imagine the freedom psychologically and emotionally that you will experience when you are no longer afraid of being rejected by anyone at any time. Imagine the release, the freedom, how much of your own energy will be released into creativity when you stop worrying about, are they going to reject me? Did they reject me? Why are they rejecting me? How can I prevent being rejected? How can I defend against being rejected? That's a lot of energy. That's a lot of wasted energy. Okay. So we just heard how to release ourselves from that wasted energy. All right. Wonderful. And Les says, my certainty that I cannot be rejected requires that I give up my what? My proclivity to reject. Exactly. I have a habit of rejecting others. Now, I don't call it rejecting others. I call it, oh, I'm just stating my opinion about others. But anytime we're judging others, that is when we are actively desiring to reject others. All right, good. So now that we've covered that, the next sentence. So we're paragraph 10, sentence 2. You have not usurped the power of God, but you have lost the power of God. Okay? So you tried to usurp the power of God by judging. I know enough to judge. I know enough to judge you. I have the power to reject you. I have usurped the power of God to decide about your reality. It says, you have not usurped the power of God, but you have lost the power of God. Fortunately, when you lose something, this doesn't mean that the something is gone. So just because you've lost the power of God, because you're trying to take over the power of God by judgment, don't forget, when you're judging, you are trying to usurp the power of God. That you kick God off the throne. God isn't the author of reality. I am. I know enough to judge their reality and to judge my reality and to judge reality. The Course says that's you trying to usurp the power of God. That's you trying to kick God off the throne, and I am God. I am God, and so I know enough to judge. That's what judgment means. And so it says, when you're judging or rejecting others, and you're trying to usurp the throne of God and be God, it says you haven't really lost the power of God as you're trying to kick God off the throne. You haven't lost the power of God. You just aren't aware of it. And fortunately, just to lose something doesn't mean it's gone, right? Just because you've lost your keys doesn't mean your keys are gone. It just means you can't find it. So just because you have lost your experience of your own power, just because you've lost your own sense of power and worth, doesn't mean it's gone. It doesn't mean you don't know where it is, fortunately. And why is it that I don't know where my true power is? Why is it I don't know where my true authority, my true power, my true worth is? Because I have tried to kick God off the throne, the authority throne, and took it for myself, right? My own true power is not my power to judge or reject. My own true power is the power to go, I am not God. I am not the true authority. I don't know enough to judge, but I can ask. I can ask the true authority, what is reality? What is the truth? And receive it and experience all the power and the joy that comes from that. That is my true power. My true power is the power that comes from me saying, I'm not God. I'm not the source. I am the creation, but I'm not the creator. My true power is not usurping the power of my creator to judge, but saying, I don't know, but I am connected to the one who does know. And so I'm going to ask the one who does know the truth about myself and the truth about this situation and the truth about them, and to receive the truth. That is our true power. That is where our true power is restored to us. Our true power is when we say, I don't know, but I am the child of one who does know, and so I will ask. And as we ask, that is when all the power is able to come through us. That's our true power. So I would like to experience my own true power to create. How about you? How would you like to know that you have all the power that you need to create the life that you would like to experience? How would you like to know that? I would like to have certainty about that, in to replace the feelings of powerlessness and helplessness that I sometimes experience. So I'm hearing here in this section that I can know my true power when I say, I don't know enough to judge. Why? Because I am not the true authority. I'm not God. I am God's creation, but I'm not God. But because I am God's child, then all that God has, I do too. That's the gift. That's the wondrous thing about being a child of God. That's the wondrous thing about being the child of a parent who is ultimately rich, ultimately loving, and unconditionally, ultimately rich. The benefit of recognizing that you are that child is that that means you are entitled to an inheritance of all that your wise, unconditionally loving, unlimitedly rich parent has. And that's your inheritance. Now, but if you're going to say, I am my parent, I am God, I am my creator, then you don't have a way to access your inheritance. Okay, let's, in a worldly sense, if I said I am my parent, then how is it that you're going to access your inheritance? The way that you access your inheritance as a child of God is you stop trying to be God through judgment. You are only able to access your inheritance by saying, I'm not my God, my parent, I'm not God, I am my creator's child. And so that's what makes me entitled to my cosmic and spiritual inheritance. So to say I don't know everything is the way to receive everything. To say I don't know enough to judge. I did not create myself. I am not God, but I am the child of God whom God loves. That is the way to access and to receive your inheritance as a child of God. But to say I am God, watch me judge, that is a way to not know that you are the child of God. That is the way to keep yourself from experiencing your natural inheritance, that you don't need to do anything to earn. Your inheritance from your spirit parent, the way to access that inheritance is to allow yourself and to remember you are the creation, you are the child. You are not the parent, you are the child. You are not God, you are the spiritual child of a spiritual parent. That is the way to access and to receive your spiritual inheritance without having to do a darn thing. Yeah. So, and as a lazy human, I'm very interested in that. How can I access my inheritance as a child of God without having to earn it, without having to do anything? A true inheritance from your true spiritual parent is all you have to do is accept that you are the child and God is the parent. That's all we got to do. So Course in Miracles literally says all we need to do is accept I did not create myself. I am not God, right? That's all we have to do. In the earlier paragraphs of this section, it was saying that your one problem is the authority problem. We are keeping our inheritance, our spiritual inheritance from us because we are insisting on being God. We are insisting on being our own author. And so the Course says that the root of all evil is not money, it is the authority problem. I am trying to be my own authority. I am trying to be the authority. How? By wielding the sword of judgment. I'm using the sword of judgment as a weapon for my own authority. I'm trying to demonstrate I am God by using the weapon of judgment against myself and against others. That is the way that I am keeping my inheritance from me. But were I to say, I am God's child, I am the creation of the Creator whose love is unconditional, and all that my Creator has is given to me, the child. That is the way to accept my inheritance. And it's going to go on to say now what our inheritance is. Okay? So, any questions here? All right. Bridget, I love your answer, Bridget. Yes, yes, yes. Beautiful. Amen to that. All right. So it says, fortunately, to lose something does not mean it's gone. To lose something merely means that you do not know where it is. And what is it that I don't know where it is? It's my inheritance. Now, it says existence does not depend on your ability to identify existence or even to place existence. In other words, it is perfectly possible to look on reality without judgment and merely know that reality is there. In other words, by knowing that reality is there, you are not doubting its reality at all. So in other words, just like it was saying earlier, you don't need judgment to organize your life. You don't need judgment to make you safe. You don't need judgment to make you safe. You don't need judgment to make you safe. You don't need judgment to organize your life. It is totally possible to just look upon reality and know that it is there. To just go, only love is real. And that's it. It is totally possible to look upon reality and to recognize reality and know that it's there, and to know that it's good, and to know that it's eternal, and to know that it supports you and sustains you. And so that is what heaven is. So it's only judgment that is keeping us from the experience of our existence, which is the same as saying reality. So I could just know my existence. I could just have an experience of my existence instead of, I could just go, only love is real. I am only love. I am the child of God, and there's nothing else to know. And be totally sustained and protected and fulfilled by that awareness. And the only thing that keeps me from that heaven, that ecstasy of looking on reality and knowing that it's real and that's all there is, and experiencing the fulfillment, is me thinking that reality is mine to judge. Like, I need to decide what's going on here. I need to decide what it means. I need to decide what I need to do. I need to decide what I need to do in order to be loved, in order to be safe. I need to decide what this means. I need to decide what I need to do to be safe, to have peace. That is the only thing that will keep you from experiencing the total abundance and ecstasy of existence. Notice how it talked about existence, and then it's talked about reality. So what is it saying? It's saying existence doesn't depend on your ability to identify it. Same thing with reality. Reality, the reality of your perfection, the reality of your sinlessness, the reality of your abundance, the reality of your complete safety and security, the reality of your complete worth, does not depend on you seeing it for it to be so, right? You could just look upon it and go, yep, I am as God created me and I am good. You could do that. So your reality, your good, your worth, your power does not depend on you seeing it for it to be real and to be there always, okay? But it says, so it is possible for you to just look on it anytime, anywhere. It says the only thing that's going to keep you from seeing your own true existence, your own true reality, which is true always in all space and time, is your judgment. Your deciding that you are the true authority, that you are the author of reality and creation, and you using the weapon of judgment as a weapon of your own authority. That's the only thing. But at any moment you could put down the sword of judgment, like thinking, I know enough to judge. You could put it down and experience the truth of your existence, which is all love, all power, eternal life, unconditional love, unchanging, eternal love, no death, and peace, peace everlasting. At any moment, we could look upon our existence as love, as peace, and experience the ecstasy and the heaven of it. Any moment, we can experience that. And we can experience that if we just won't pick up the sword of judgment and use it against our reality. Says it's perfectly possible to look on reality without judgment and merely know that it is there. And by knowing that reality in our existence is there, you are not doubting its reality at all. All right. So that is the alternative to judgment. And it's also the way to return to peace and joy and healing and abundance at any moment that you want it. Any moment that you are tired of paying the price of judgment, the suffering, the lack, the fear, the guilt, the pain, the sense of separation, isolation, and loneliness. At any moment you are tired of paying the price of judgment, that you are tired of carrying the burden of judgment, that you never really could have really. Any moment that you're tired of carrying the burden of judgment and paying the price of judgment, any moment you could lay it down and just look upon reality and existence as it is and experience the heaven of knowing the truth of your own existence, your own reality. At any moment you could have that. Good to know. Good to know. Les says, my true power lies in my ability to not know enough to judge. That is so, it's exactly right. Your true power comes from going, I don't know enough to judge. But there is one within me that does know the truth about existence in this moment, who's totally willing to tell me exactly what it is. That is our true power. So just like Les says, our true power is the ability to go, I don't know. I'm not the author of reality. I don't know enough to judge. I didn't create this person. I didn't create myself. And as you know, if I didn't create this person, how am I supposed to know the truth about them? You know, the Course says that you would have to know an infinite number of things about this person and where they came from and where their parents came from, what their parents went through, what they went through. You would have to know a list of things about this person and their motivations, what motivated their actions, what occurred, what happened for them. You'd have to know too many things. You'd have to know a list of things about this person in order to judge accurately, a list of things you could not possibly know. That's why the Course says that judgment is the epitome of arrogance. It's the epitome of arrogance. It's blasphemy. You know, to judge is to say, I know more than God about myself or this person or this situation. And the Course says that's the real definition of blasphemy. So beautiful. And Les says the price of judgment is just too high, too tiring, and ultimately useless. So true. So true. So beautiful. So we've been talking about our inheritance. Okay. The title of this was How to Accept Your Inheritance Without Someone Else Dying. Okay, did y'all see that was the title of this? So we've been talking about your inheritance. And so now it's going to talk about what your inheritance is. So I want you to know that no matter who or what your parentage is, your parents are, or whatever relatives, I want you to know that A Course in Miracles claims that we all are heirs. We are heirs and heiresses of a spiritual kingdom. We are heirs and heiresses of a kingdom, a spiritual kingdom. We all have an inheritance coming to us. And the Course, and what we were saying earlier was only thing that keeps us from experiencing our true inheritance as children of God is judgment, trying to be God ourselves. And so now it's going to talk to us about what our true inheritance is. Okay, so this is the inheritance that you have the right to claim. It is your right to claim. It is being offered to you at no cost because of who and what you are as a child of God. And you could claim it right here, right now, if you are willing to stop trying to be God yourself through judgment. So now it's going to tell you about what your heritage and what your inheritance is and how to accept it. So paragraph 11, it says, peace is the natural heritage of you. Peace is your natural heritage. So your inheritance. So what's your inheritance? Peace. What is peace? Total fulfillment of a experience of peace, a peace that cannot be shaken by any of the changing circumstances in the world or in life. Okay, peace, a peace that cannot be shaken, a peace that you cannot lose. That is your inheritance. That is your inheritance. That is what is being offered to you. That is what's coming to you. That is what your loving spirit parent has put aside for you unconditionally. Okay? Your spirit parent, sometimes known as God, has put aside an inheritance for you, a trust for you, called peace anytime you want it, in any circumstance, at no cost, at no conditions, just because you are life's child. Okay? So peace is your natural inheritance. Now, everyone is free to refuse to accept their inheritance. Okay, you're free to say, no, I don't want my inheritance. Everyone's free to decline to accept their inheritance. But you are not free to establish what your inheritance is. Okay, good to know. So I can say no to my inheritance, but that doesn't mean that my inheritance is gone. And it also doesn't mean I'm free to establish what my inheritance is. My inheritance doesn't change. My inheritance is peace. What kind of peace? A peace that cannot be shaken, a peace that passes my understanding, a peace that cannot be threatened just because this changes and that changes and this changes and that changes. Guess what? This world, this experience is about change. The ego world is a world in which everything seems to be changing. Okay, life seems to change into death. Abundance seems to change into lack. Your young body seems to change into an old body. Your living body seems to change into a dying body. Change is what seems to be reality here. But our inheritance is a peace from our source that doesn't change no matter what changes here. How would you like to have that? An experience of peace, an experience of joy, an experience of life, an experience of love that doesn't change, that isn't threatened by things that change in the world. How would you like to experience a love that never changes, a love that never dies? How would you like to experience a life that never changes, a life that never dies? That's what peace is. The peace that is your inheritance from your spirit parent is an experience of peace and love and joy, all synonyms, that don't change just because things in form do. I would like to experience that. I would love to have experience of love and joy and abundance and safety and peace that isn't dependent on my bank account, or isn't dependent on how somebody perceives me, or whether so-and-so is rejecting me or not, or whether so-and-so likes me or not. Or I'd like to have an experience of life that doesn't change depending on what's going on with my body. I would love to experience my existence, my true existence, which is peace that doesn't change, that doesn't die, a life that doesn't change, that doesn't die. That is our true inheritance from our spirit parent, also otherwise known as God or love. So, saying this is what you're entitled to as a child of God. This is what is yours without condition as a child of God. And there's a way to receive that inheritance should you want it. Now you can reject it, but it will always be there for your acceptance when you want it. Thank you, God. All right. Let me take a breath. Take a sip of my greens juice. All right. Don't forget, if you have any questions about how to apply this, feel free to write it here. Feel free to say, yeah, that's all well and good, Anna, but how does that apply to you know who, or to my job, or to what I've got going on? The purpose of this course is the practical application of it. My purpose as a teacher is to help you understand what A Course in Miracles is saying, and to help you understand how to use it in such a way that you get the miraculous power that comes from using the truth in your situations. So feel free. Les says, my true existence never changes. Bring it on, Anna. Amen, Les. Beautiful. Okay, so now we're going to go on. Now we're paragraph 11, sentence 3. The problem which everyone must decide is the fundamental question of their own authorship. Okay, what's I think I have a financial problem. I think I have a relationship problem. I think I have a health problem. I think I have a global problem. I think I have a climate change problem. But he says that the real problem that we have, and the only problem we have, is we've got to decide the fundamental question of our own authorship. Who created me? Who created me? Where did I come from? Who created me? Is it me, or is it my source? Is it me, or is it God? Who created me? Is it the world? Is it my boss? Is it my partner? Is it my kid? Is it my dog? Who created me? That is the fundamental question that of my own authorship, and that is my one problem. I've got to decide that. If you're upset with your boss, or if you're upset with another person, that's because you are believing that they are your source. You're believing that they are your author, or else why would you be upset? Listen, if my boss, if my partner, if my kid isn't my author, if they didn't create me, then there's no reason for me to be upset about what they're thinking about me, about their misperceptions of me, or their rejection of me. If they're not my author, then there's no reason for me to be upset or afraid of their misperceptions of me. And so, the same thing about the world. If I didn't come from the world, then it's not the world who gets to decide my truth and my reality. So you can see how your core one problem is that you've got to decide who is your source, what is your source. And once you decide my source is God, then no more problem, because now you're not upset every opportunity, every situation, every special relationship. You're not upset. You're not upset when somebody misperceives you. You're not upset when you perceive someone's rejecting you. Why? Because they're not your author. I don't need to be concerned about how they see me and how they're misperceiving me or how they might reject me if they're not my author. If they're not my author, then hey, they're not the one who's deciding my reality. and my fate and my destiny. So I don't need to be concerned about that. All I need to do is go to my author and say, hey, what is my true identity? What is my reality as you created me? You're my author. You're my source. I'm going to take your word for it. Okay? And same thing about when you're upset with yourself, right? You're upset with yourself because you're thinking you are your source. And so instead of going to your own self, like, what's the truth about me? You're not going to go to your own self. You're going to go to your true authority, your true source. That's why the problem which everyone must decide is the fundamental question of their own authorship. Who created me? Is it me? Is it them? Or is it God? Which is, what's another word for God? Another name for God? Love. My loving, infinite source. So then it says, so now we're at paragraph 11, sentence 4. All fear comes ultimately and sometimes by way of very devious routes from the denial of authorship. So ultimately, where's my fear coming from? I'm denying my true source. I'm denying my true authorship and thinking it's me, or I'm thinking it's them. That's why I'm afraid. That's why I'm upset, because I think maybe they created me. I'm thinking maybe they've established my reality. I'm thinking maybe I established my own reality. That's why I'm afraid. Okay, so I'm denying my own true authorship, and that's why I'm afraid right now, and that's why I'm upset, and that's why I'm sick, and that's why I'm broke. And that's why I'm angry, because I'm denying my own true authorship. Because if I wasn't denying my own true authorship, I wouldn't be going to them, to that, to this, to that, or to myself for my true identity. I would be going to my source and going, hey, what's your idea about me? How did you create me? What's my true identity and true existence as you created me, God? And then I would hear how my own true source and author created me, and I would be ecstatic. Okay, truly, if we knew how we were truly created by our true authority, we could only be in freaking heaven, right? Why? Because the way our source, God, love, created us was no lack, no death, no guilt. And so if we were experiencing ourselves as we were truly created, we'd be having a freaking good time in heaven itself. Okay. So then it says, all fear comes ultimately from the denial of your true authorship. Then it says, now the offense is never to God. God is not offended. God is not offended that you're trying to be God. You're trying to kick God off the throne. I know enough to judge. I am God. I am, and I know enough to judge. God is not offended. The offense is never to God. The offense is only to the denier, which is you, which is me. So God is never offended. So don't worry that you're offending God. God can't be offended. That's us. We can be offended because we are the author of offense, not God. So don't worry about offending God. You know, God is not like, I can't believe you're trying to be me. Oh my God, I'm so offended. That is so rude. That's not God. God isn't offended by your judgment. It says, when you are trying to be God yourself through judgment, you have thrown away the reason for your own peace. When you are denying your own true authorship, when you are trying to be God yourself through judgment, you have thrown away the reason for your own peace. And when you've thrown away the reason for your own peace, you will see yourself only in pieces. When you've thrown away your reason for peace, you will see yourself only in pieces. How very interesting. Interesting play on words there. Good. So when you have thrown away the awareness that God is your author, that you did not create yourself, when you've thrown away that awareness because you want to be the author of reality, because you want to judge, then the cost of that is you're going to see yourself in pieces, only in pieces. There's a piece of me over there, and there's a piece of me over there, and there's a piece of me over there. And if that piece is gone, guess what happens to me? Right. I am fractured. I am less. I am divided. I am empty. I am incomplete. So I don't want to see myself in pieces anymore. I don't want to see myself as not whole. Okay, so when you're seeing yourself as not whole, it's like this. That means that person has a piece of me, and when they leave or reject me, I am incomplete. I am not whole. I'm not even myself anymore. Okay, and that's no fun. That doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good to see yourself in pieces. Okay, if you believe that if somebody leaves or dies, that you will be incomplete, then that is you seeing yourself in pieces. And when you see yourself in pieces, fractured, shattered, when you see yourself as fractured, shattered, I used to be whole, but when they rejected me, I was shattered. I used to be whole, but when they died or left, I was shattered, and now I'm only pieces. Now there's only part of me. Part of me is gone. You will see yourself as incomplete, as shattered and fractured when you see yourself in pieces, when you see yourself as not complete. Now, when you see yourself as when you're denying your own true author, then the only alternative is to see yourself in pieces. Wow, which means incomplete. So hearing that motivates me. I want to remember that I did not create myself. I want to remember to say as often as I can, just like Course in Miracles teaches me to do, I am the child of God herself. I am God. I am the child of God himself. Okay. I am not God. I am the child of God. All that my Creator has, I have. I am entitled to my inheritance as a child of God. I can accept it any time. Nothing can take away from me my right to my inheritance as a child of God. But I'm not God. I'm not the source. I'm not my source. I didn't come from myself, right? And because I didn't come from myself, then at any moment, I have access to all that my source is and gives to all of its creations, right? But if I did come from myself, now I have to worry about myself being in pieces, myself leaving me if somebody dies or rejects me or whatever. Wow. So it says, when you are denying your true authorship, like where you came from, then you will be throwing away the reason for your own peace. Why? Because you will be seeing yourself only in pieces. Wow, how very interesting. When I forget that I was created, then I will only see myself in pieces, meaning fractured and incomplete and vulnerable to rejection, to loss, and to death. Okay? I don't want to see myself as vulnerable to that anymore because that hurts and that frightens me. I can't love myself or people completely. I can't love my beloved completely. I can't love my friends completely. I can't love my child completely if I believe that if they leave me or reject me, I am in pieces. I'm shattered. I'm fractured. Okay, I won't be able to love completely if I see myself in pieces. So if I want to be able to love completely my beloved, my child, my friends, myself, then I'm going to have to answer that question of authorship once and for all. Because my one problem is I have not answered that question of my own true authorship. I haven't answered it. I haven't said, I am not my own author. God is my author. I did not create myself, period. Question answered. How do I know that? I know that because when somebody rejects me in my perception, or they abandon me in my perception, or they judge me in my perception, I freak out. I tell myself I'm rejected. Now I'm upset. Now I have a grievance. That's what lets me know that I believe they created me, which lets me know I believe I created me. Okay, so our spiritual goal, our spiritual learning goal, is to answer that question of authorship once and for all. So how about now? How about now? How about right now we answer that question of authorship once and for all? All right, let's join on that right now. How about it? All right, Les says, God cannot be offended. Exactly, right. That's our department. How many times a day are you offended? I'm a little embarrassed to admit how many times a day I'm offended. I can't believe you said that. I can't believe you did that. I can't believe they said that. I mean, be offended by things people said on TV who don't even know me, right? It's not God who's offended. It's us who's offended all day long, right? But you're only offended when you are trying to be God yourself. So, the ultimate arrogance. Okay. Beautiful. How are we doing on time? Fantastic. Now, so it's talking about what happens, what makes it so that we see ourselves only in pieces. Wow, I don't want to see myself only in pieces anymore. Like there's a piece of me there, and a piece of me there, and a piece of me there, and a piece of me there. They better not reject me. They better not leave me. That piece of me better not die, or else, I'm screwed. I don't want to see myself like that anymore. I want to experience my wholeness. I want to experience my wholeness. And my wholeness is my reason for peace. The knowledge and the awareness that who I am is whole and complete, and it can't be shattered, it can't be rejected, it can't be fractured. Why? Because it was created by God. That is my reason for peace. That's the only reason I could relax, despite all the changes that are part of this world. The Course says this world is characterized by changes. This world changes. And the Course in Miracles actually says that all the changes that are constantly going on in the world, that's what wears out our world. That's why our world is worn and tired and ready to return to the dust from which it came, because changes wear out the world. And so we want to experience an existence, a reality, a worth, an innocence that never changes. And that is our peace. When you know that you have a worth, when you know that you have an existence, when you know you have a life, and when you know you have a love that can't be worn out, that can't change or can't die, then you're going to have peace. You're going to have a peace that passes understanding. And that is the reason for your peace. And that is our inheritance. That is what's being offered us in every moment of every day for our acceptance, that we can accept any time that we're willing to lay down the sword of judgment that we're using as a weapon of our own authority so that we can be God. So I want to have a peace like that never changes, that passes my understanding. So eventually I'm going to have to lay down, stop using the weapon of judgment for my own authority. Eventually I'm going to be like, I don't want to be God. I don't want to be the author of reality. I don't want to know, right? I don't want to know. apart from the fact that I don't obviously know. I don't want to know. That's too much responsibility, aside from being totally wrong and paying the price for judgment, which is me acting like I know, like I'm the author. So, and Rich says, I want the experience, please, of wholeness, completeness, lacking nothing. Amen. Exactly. And we're hearing about how to have that. And that's what the whole Course in Miracles is about, how to have that, how to have it now. Imagine that. So then it says this. It says, this strange perception of seeing yourself in pieces, seeing yourself as fractured, this strange perception is an authority problem. It is also the basis for castration anxiety, since both forms of error are fundamentally the same. Okay, that's a Freudian concept that the author is speaking to Helen and Bill because they were psychologists. And so he is connecting this topic with a Freudian concept that they would understand. I'm not going to go into that right now, but you can look at the notes yourself if you're interested in hearing more about the castration anxiety. Okay. Yeah, I was just thinking about castration anxiety today, so I was all right. Anyway, I wonder what it is for women. Okay. All right, I wonder what it is for women. Okay, next paragraph. Paragraph 12. You cannot find peace while this authority problem continues. Okay, got to answer the question of the authority. He's going to say it again. But the truth is still that there is no problem about your true authorship. There is no problem. Okay, it's just a perceived problem. You don't have an authority problem. You just think you do. You're just making it up. Okay, you don't have an authority problem. Your authority is fine. You're still the child of an unconditionally loving, unconditionally powerful spirit parent who everything they have, they've given you. So you don't have a problem. That's why the Course in Miracles says, let me recognize my problems have been solved. Okay, you don't really have a problem. Your only problem is you think you got a problem, and your only problem is that you want a problem and you're making up a problem. And the way we're making up the problem is by creating weapons of judgment, because you want to be God. I want to be the author of reality. I want to be God, and so I'm gonna pick up the weapon of judgment. Okay, so that's the only problem that we have, is that we want to be God. Why? Because the ego wants to be God, and we think we are the ego. Okay, so it says, but you don't really have a problem. So next sentence. There is no one who does not feel they are imprisoned in some way. So stop feeling guilty. Stop feeling alone in how you feel imprisoned. Stop feeling like you're the only one who feels imprisoned. Okay, you're not the only Course in Miracles student that feels imprisoned still, even though there are a Course in Miracles student. Okay, everybody here feels imprisoned. You know how we know that? Because this is the world as we are experiencing it, is the manifestation of a belief in limitation and lack. So everyone here feels like they are imprisoned in some way. Okay, and it says, and if this feeling of being imprisoned in some way, right, like the fact that you have a body, okay, do you have a body right now? Okay, you do, right? That's a sense of being imprisoned. Okay, if you have a body, you're having an you're having an experience of being imprisoned. Okay, in some way. Now, if this imprisonment, this sense of imprisonment, has been the result of your own free will, then you must regard your will as if your will were not free, or the obviously circular reasoning of your own position would be quite apparent. Free will must lead to freedom. So if you don't feel free, then you must not feel like your will or your mind is free. It says, judgment always imprisons. Judgment always imprisons. Why? Because judgment separates segments of reality according to the highly unstable scales of desire. So If you are still using judgment, if you're still judging on thinking that you know enough to judge, if you're still judging the reality of others or the reality of yourself, then you are going to be experiencing imprisonment. Then you do experience imprisonment. Why? Because judgment imprisons, judgment separates. And how does judgment separate? Judgment separates out segments of reality according to the highly unstable scales of desire. So I judge according to my desire, which is always changing. So here's my desires. Some days I desire to be the follower. Some days I desire to be the leader. Some days I desire to be a victim. Some days I desire to be aggressor. Some days I desire to be a body. Some days I desire to be a spirit. Some days I desire to be right. Some days I desire to be wrong. So my desire is changing like this all the time. My desires is unstable, right? Some days I desire to be loving. Some days I desire to be unloving. Some days I desire to join. Some days I desire to separate and isolate. And here's my desires. They're totally unstable. They're changing every day according to my whims. And then each day I'm judging according to my desires that are going like this. So my desires are going like this. And then I'm just judging according to these desires that are like this all the time. So my judgments are not based on anything stable at all. I'm judging according to my unstable scales of desire. Wow. And my judgment does what? My judgment imprisons. So my judgments are unstable. They're changing all the time. But the one thing they all do is they imprison. What does that mean? They limit me. They limit me. They limit others, and they limit me. So if I am experiencing limitation right now, let's say I'm experiencing financial limitation. Let's say I'm experiencing a relationship limitation. Let's say I'm experiencing a health limitation. Okay. If I am experiencing limitation right now, then what I am hearing from this section is that what will release me from an experience of being limited is stop judging. Stop judging. Stop judging whether this is right, whether this is wrong, judging good or bad, judging guilt, judging. So if I'm experiencing a sense of limitation right now and I don't want to experience that limitation anymore, then the first thing that I'm going to want to do is say, you know what? I don't know. I don't know what this means. I don't know what this means. I don't know what it's for. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know the truth. I'm not the author of reality. I don't know the truth about me. I don't know the truth about them. I don't know what's going on. The Course in Miracles does say that that the secret of salvation and that the secret of freedom is saying, I don't know what anything including this means. And so I don't know what it's for. And I don't know what I am, and I don't know what I'm doing. That is what releases you from limitation, because now your mind is open to receive the truth. Okay? What the truth is the opposite of your judgment. If only your judgment is limiting you, then when you say you don't know, which is true, now your mind is open to receive the truth. From where? From the source of truth, which is God, who does know. And if your judgments are the source of your limitation, then the truth is the source of your release and your freedom from what seems to be limiting you right now. So if whatever way I'm feeling limited right now, I need to tell myself I'm experiencing limitation because I'm judging. I think I know enough to judge, but I don't. So here's what I'm going to start with. Okay, I don't like the way I feel right now. I don't like the sense of limitation I got going on relative to my body or my job or relationship, or whatever. And so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to sit here and say the truth. I'm going to do something different. And I'm going to tell the truth. What's the truth? I don't know what this means. I don't know what it's for. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know where I'm going. Why? Because I am obviously, because I'm judging and I'm not at peace. So I don't know. I'm not the author of reality. And so I don't know. Now, that's the first thing we want to do when we're tired of the sense of limitation that our problems and our judgments have created for us. So, beautiful. Yes, and Demi says, judgment robs joy. Exactly. And Greg says, forgiveness pardons me from my own prison. Exactly. And then Irene says, judgments limit me. Very exactly. Oh, I love A Course in Miracles. I love how it's always, 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 always telling us what's really going on and how to receive a miracle of release and freedom when we want one. So then it says, and we're almost done. Beautiful. It says, wishes are not facts by definition. To wish is to imply that willing is not sufficient. However, hey, look, thank you. To wish is to imply that willing is not sufficient. However, no one really believes that what is wished is as real as what is willed. So, instead of the quote, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, we've all heard that quote, say, will ye first the kingdom of heaven? And you have said, I know what I am, and I will to accept my own inheritance. Okay, so that biblical quote that we've all heard: "Seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all else shall be added." Well, the Course in Miracles is giving us an update on that phrase, and it's saying this: that instead of saying let me seek first the kingdom of heaven, and all else will be added, it's saying first, let me know what I am. Let me seek my own true identity. And as I seek my own true identity, then I will be accepting my own true inheritance. Okay? So that's the updated version of that. Seek to know your own true identity. And once you know your own true identity, then you will be able to accept your own true inheritance as a child of an all-loving creator. Okay, so let's break that down for a moment. Okay, because it's saying that is a prayer, that is a formula. It's a formula prayer. Okay, I want to accept my own inheritance as a child of God. I want to accept the release from limitation that I experience. I experience all kinds of limitations, right? Well, I want to experience a release from limitations. I want to experience my own true freedom. And it's saying how to do it. When you accept your own true inheritance as a child of God, you're accepting your own true freedom from all that you believe that limits you. And the way to accept your inheritance of freedom from what limits you is to know the truth about yourself. And what's the truth about yourself? The truth about yourself is that you are a child of God. You are the child of God. You are the creation of God, not the creator. So as you go, I'm the creation. I'm the child. I'm the child who doesn't know. I'm not the creator who knows it all. As you say, I am God's child. I am God's creation, not God. When you say, I am God's child, then you are, in essence, you're opening your mind to accept your inheritance that is available to God's child, God's creation. So, in other words, The only thing that's keeping me from experiencing my inheritance as a child of God is me not knowing that I am God's child. And the only thing that's keeping me from not knowing I am God's child is because I'm trying to be God himself. I'm trying to be the creator through judgment. Okay? Judgment is me playing God. You know how kids, when they're little, they're like, I'm going to pretend to be a mommy. I'm going to pretend to be the daddy, right? That's us. We are the children pretending to be the parents, thinking that we are the parents. But when we are the child pretending to be the parent, we're keeping from ourselves the abundance and supply and protection and love from our parents. So, in order to experience your inheritance, the release from limitation that is your inheritance, the peace that cannot be shaken that is your inheritance, the way to receive that is to remember that you are the child and not the parent, that you are the child, you and not the source, not the creator. So the way to receive your inheritance is to say, I know what I am, and I accept my inheritance. I know what I am. I am the child of God, and as a child of God, I accept my rightful inheritance. And you don't even have to say the I accept my inheritance part. All you got to do is stop trying to play the parent. All you have to do is stop trying to play God. And as soon as you stop trying to play God, then you inherently, automatically are acknowledging that you're the creation, you're the child, which means you are entitled to your inheritance. So, and what's your inheritance? Freedom from limitation. What's your inheritance? Peace that cannot be shaken by any of the circumstances of the world. And that you are entitled to as a child of God. So, beautiful. Any questions or comments? Beautiful. Les says, prayer, release me from the limitations I fabricate in all situations so I can receive freedom. Amen. And Irene says, I am a child of God, God's creation, not God. Beautiful. I know what I am. I just realized it. I'm the child. I'm the creation. I'm not God. And as the child and as the creation, I am entitled to my inheritance as the child of God. Hallelujah. All right. And Greg says, peace is my natural inheritance as a child of God, the offspring of love. Amen. Beautiful. All right, guys. So that is the end of that section. And next week, we will be continuing on with the next section, which is called the unshakable foundation. So, how would you like to experience an unshakable foundation? I would like to experience an unshakable foundation, meaning a foundation of certainty and peace that I cannot be thrown off of. That's what I'd like to experience, and that's what we're going to be talking about in our next session. But now we're going to do announcements, and then we're going to do the integration meditation. So, announcements are, I do 2 live streams a week, every Monday and Wednesday. Every Wednesday, as in this session, I do the complete and annotated edition of A Course in Miracles, and that's from 7 to 8:30 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time. And right now that's on Facebook, but I'm working on getting it over to YouTube. And so listen, I'm working on getting over to YouTube, but they're telling me that I need to have 1,000 subscribers in order to do that. So please go to YouTube, my YouTube channel, and hit subscribe if you haven't already, so that I can get to 1,000 subscribers, and then I can go on over to YouTube. So do that today if you haven't done that. So that's that. And then I am a holistic psychotherapist, and I have a psychotherapeutic niche where I do psychotherapy for Course in Miracles students who would like some psychotherapy, but they want it from a Course in Miracles perspective. And so you can schedule a a miracle psychotherapeutic session with me by going to my my website, annakajawa.com. Go to the last page of that website, find my phone number, and text me. That's the best way to contact me. Find my phone number on the last page of my website, annakajawa.com, and text me. You can also private message me on Facebook as well. And also, don't forget to check out my YouTube channel. I have Course in Miracles readings, and I got Course in Miracles meditations and from years back. So all kinds of good stuff on my YouTube channel. And eventually that's where I'm going to be live broadcasting from as well. So go check that out, hit like and subscribe, and then I'll see you there shortly. Wonderful. If you'd like to make a financial expression of appreciation to my Miracles Ministry, then you can go to my website, annakajawa.com, go to the services we offer page, and you'll find PayPal buttons there. And thank you for that. Thank you, thank you, thank you for supporting this ministry and helping it to expand and extend across the world that so desperately needs this light, this truth to be released from limitations. Your contributions help that, and I appreciate that. I thank you, and all the world that benefits from this ministry thanks you. Awesome. Demi says, looking radiant, and thank you for the reminders and the lessons. See you on YouTube. Thank you, Demi. Appreciate you too. Awesome. So now we're going to do the integration meditation that I finish all my sessions with. And oh yes, and Carrie just reminded me that I wrote a book. I wrote a book. It's called it's called New World Anthems and New Earth Prayers. And it is all of the Course in Miracles prayers in my own languaging applied to my own life situation challenges and put into prayers and put into poetry. And you can order that book from Amazon. So you can find that book. It's a prayer manual. It's just the prayers that I prayed when I was going through all the life challenges that we all go through. Family, body, health, money, career, all that stuff. As I was applying A Course in Miracles principles in prayer, these prayers are what came forth. And then and you can use them too, to bring about miracles in all of your life challenges as well. So it's a prayer manual, basically. And thank you. And you can go to Amazon and put in my name, Anna Kujawa, and my last name is spelled Kujawa, Anna Kujawa, and you'll see that book, New World Anthems and New Earth Prayers. And really, it is a prayer book for bringing about the new earth, the new earth. That's a big purpose and part of my ministry, is for us to join in rebirthing the new earth, right? The forgiven world, as A Course in Miracles calls it, or the real world. We are the midwives for the new earth. And so this book is about the prayers for us as the midwives for the new earth and the real world. So we are needed, we are important, you are needed, you are important. So anyway, you can find that on Amazon. Beautiful. So now we're going to do the integration meditation, where we take the ideas and we use them. So we're just going to listen to some music and we're going to use the ideas. So what I want you to do is I want you to close your eyes and take a breath and just feel these ideas. How do these ideas feel in your body? How do these ideas feel in your heart? How do these ideas feel in your emotional body? How do these ideas feel in your body? And how does it feel to hear these ideas as part of a healing circle. And I want you to just breathe in that feeling, feel it. Take note of how these ideas feel, and how does it feel to listen to them and to join on them. Beautiful. Beautiful. Now I want you to bring to your awareness a situation or a relationship in which you have been experiencing a perception of rejection, or you've been afraid or fearing rejection. I want you to bring that situation or relationship to your awareness. I want you to take a breath. I want you to notice how it feels to be afraid of rejection, or to be defending against the possibility of rejection, or to feel like you've been rejected. I want you to just take note of how that feels. Whew, and take a breath. And notice it doesn't feel good. That really doesn't feel good. That's a toxic feeling. Beautiful. Now I want you to tell yourself the truth about this. I want you to tell yourself this: only as I give over all of my desire to reject can I know that my own rejection is impossible. I am afraid of rejection because I have been trying to reject. I've been desiring to reject through my judgments. I have been desiring to reject with my judgments. That's the only reason I'm afraid of rejection. That's the only reason I'm afraid of rejection and concerned about rejection. It's the only reason I believe I have been rejected. It's because I have my own desire to reject through judgment. Whew, and take a breath and let it go. And I want you to say to yourself, I give over all of my own desire to reject. I renounce, give over all my desire to reject. Holy Spirit, I give over to you all my desire to reject or judge. And then if you've been rejecting or judging someone in particular, say their name. Spirit, I give over all my desire to judge and reject. Say their name. Be specific. Beautiful. And then I want you to tell yourself the truth. I give over. I lay down the weapon of judgment that I've been using for my own authority. I have been using judgment as a weapon of my own authority in this situation with you know who. I'm going to lay it down. I do not know. I am not God. I did not create that person. I did not create myself. I do not know enough to judge. And so I'm going to lay down the weapon of my own authority called judgment. I'm laying it down. I give it over. Whew, what a relief. Now I am taking a burden off my back that I have been staggering and falling beneath unnecessarily. And breathe. And tell yourself the truth. I do not know enough to judge this person. I do not know enough to judge this situation. And I certainly don't know enough to judge myself. I am not the author of my own reality. I'm not the author of their reality. I'm not the author of any reality. Whew, what a relief. Remember how the Course in Miracles says earlier in this section, you cannot even conceive of the tremendous release and deep peace that comes from laying down the sword of judgment for your own authority. Lay it down and experience the deep peace and tremendous release. The tremendous release and deep peace that comes when you lay down judgment. Oh, breathe it in. Feel so light. All right, and so now we want to answer the question of our authorship once and for all, so that we can finally accept our true inheritance of an unshakable peace, even in this world. And it goes like this: I accept my own true authorship. I did not create myself, period. I am not the author of reality. I am not the author of their reality. I am not the author of my reality. I did not create myself. God is my spirit parent, and I am God's child creation. That is the reason for my peace. That is the source of my true power. I did not create myself. God is my source, and I am God's child, God's perfect creation. I know what I am, God's child, and I accept my inheritance. I know what I am as God's child, and I accept my inheritance as God's child. I do not know enough to judge, and I do not need to. All I need to know is that God is my creator, and I am God's creation, in whom God is well pleased, and whom God has perfectly provided for. That's all I need to know. Let the truth be true. Beautiful. And then just bring your awareness back to the room, back to your body. Awesome. Good job, guys. Thank you, guys. And thank you so much for joining this healing circle. Thank you for your feedback. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your love. And thank you for joining this healing circle on behalf of the healing of the world. I appreciate you and appreciate you more than you know. And I'll see you next time I see you. Don't forget to check out my YouTube channel. I appreciate you.